In the headlines of this hour on VTV News. Minister of Industry and Trade fields question at National Assembly sitting. And Vietnam gains over 2.5 billion US dollars in fruit and vegetable exports. In our world news, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's coalition wins majority in parliament after vote.
Broadcasting from Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. VTV News starts right now.
Good afternoon. It is 3 p.m. local time and you're tuning in for 30 minutes of VTV News. I'm Huyền Trân with the top stories. Now continuing the Q&A segment of the 7th session of the 4th National Assembly. Early on Wednesday morning, the National Assembly continued questioning the Minister of Industry and Trade. He had also answered questions raised by National Assembly deputies on Tuesday.
The Ministry of Industry and Trade has many recommendations for businesses to expand into new markets, such as Bangladesh, Pakistan, and India. What opportunities can Vietnamese businesses leverage in these markets, considering they have advantages similar to Vietnam's?
With its substantial population, demand for products in which Vietnam excels, close proximity leading to low logistics costs, and relatively lenient entry standards, this market provides ample opportunities for businesses to compete with their domestic products.
Support for industry enterprises in Vietnam has not matured sufficiently to integrate into the global supply chain, particularly in the context of FDI companies. Foreign enterprises have even outpaced local ones within Vietnam. What are your thoughts on this situation?
We need to revise foreign investment laws to include a binding mechanism, not just incentives, alongside attracting foreign investment. It's imperative to mandate foreign enterprises to collaborate with domestic counterparts and gradually localize their production. Throughout this process, we'll accumulate more insights. Our research indicates that China, a neighboring country that has succeeded in this endeavor for over 30 years, is following a similar path.
After concluding the Q&A session with the Ministry of Industry and Trade, National Assembly Chair Trần Thanh Mẫn praised the session's enthusiastic and responsible atmosphere. The minister adequately addressed all the issues raised by National Assembly deputies. The Assembly Chair urged the government, the Ministry of Industry and Trade, and related ministries to strengthen e-commerce and consumer protection laws, boost trade promotion, widen access to international markets, enhance product quality, and actively engage in regional and global supply chains. Furthermore, the National Assembly Chair emphasized the need to research and develop the key industry law and supporting industry development program for 2026 to 2035.
As of early June, Vietnam's fruit and vegetable exports have reeled in over 2.5 billion US dollars, up about 26% compared to the same period last year. Now, this sector is forecasted to continue to set new records in export turnover in the remaining 2 quarters. Europe, Japan, and South Korea are among the countries increasing their imports of Vietnam's fruit and vegetables. The negative impact of the El Nino phenomenon has reduced the global supply of fruits and vegetables. Now, for the less affected countries like Vietnam, there will be many opportunities to boost export turnover. Some vegetable processing companies in the Mekong Delta have already signed export contracts to the end of 2024. However, to surpass the 5.6 billion US dollars of export turnover achieved last year, they are still actively collaborating with farmers to develop production areas that meet export standards. Vietnam exported 1.4 million tons of rice to the Philippines in the first 5 months of the year. Now, according to the Vietnam Trade Office in the Philippines, this accounts for about 2/3 of the Philippines' total rice imports. As a result, Vietnam remains the largest rice exporter to the island state, followed by Thailand and Pakistan. This year, the total rice imports of the Philippines are projected to reach around 4 million tons. Some businesses say the Philippine market is fond of Vietnam's Dai Thơm 8 and 5451 rice varieties. Thanks to product quality and affordable prices, Vietnamese rice has dominated metropolitan Manila and the southern provinces. Rice exports have seen a rise in both output and value. However, unfair competition persists in this sector. Many businesses highlight the prevalence of signing contracts to sell price at low prices with significant discounts. In response, the Vietnam Food Association, or VFA, has suggested reinstating the floor price for rice exports.
100,000 tons of rice will be exported to Indonesia at a lower selling price of $22 to $24 per ton than announced by VFA. This price is expected to affect the bidding of Vietnamese rice enterprises shortly.
Despite Vietnamese businesses bidding very low, but the same bidding packages from other countries still fetch prices exceeding $600 per ton. However, Vietnam's price fell below this threshold, indicating we undercut ourselves. Establishing a floor price ensures that Vietnam's rice prices safeguard the efforts of the farmers.
Export orders until the end of July have affected domestic and export rice prices. Accordingly, the price of exported rice has decreased by $4 per ton, and traders' rice purchases have also decreased by 300 to 400 Vietnam dongs per kilogram.
Recent rice prices have been favorable during the rising costs. We aim to maintain high rice prices to ensure that we can earn profits.
I'm unsure if the price will hold up for the next crop season. If it goes up, we'll make a profit. But if it stays as low as in previous seasons, people might not be keen on growing rice anymore.
Some businesses argue that exporting 100,000 tons of rice at low prices compared to the annual total of 7 to 8 million tons is insignificant. However, it is concerning reality as the rice industry strives to enhance the quality and value of Vietnamese rice to boost income for rice growers.
Vietnam, a tropical country renowned for its diverse and abundant fruit tree species, spent nearly $2 billion on fruit imports last year. Surprisingly, many imported fruits are cheaper than domestically grown varieties, which has significantly pressured local growers and traders. More in the following.
At wholesale markets in Ho Chi Minh City, Thai mangosteen costs $2.36 per kilogram, while Vietnamese mangosteens ranges from $2.56 to $2.75 per kilogram. With Vietnam currently in the peak harvest season, competition for this product is particularly intense.
Vietnamese goods are generally priced high. High-quality Vietnamese products are hard to find, whereas Thai products are readily available and inexpensive.
Many consumers prefer imported fruit due to its lower prices. Imported kiwi, apples, pomegranates, and pears sell for several dollars per kilogram. In contrast, some Vietnamese fruits are considered by small traders to be lower quality than their imported counterparts, resulting in lower sales.
In Vietnam, most grapes on the market come from Phan Rang. However, Phan Rang grapes struggle to compete with American, Chilean, and Australian grapes in quality and flavor, placing them in the average segment.
Wholesale markets in Ho Chi Minh City report that imported fruits account for about 40% of their offerings. Due to their diversity, stable quality, and abundant supply, these imports create significant competitive pressure for domestic products.
In terms of standards and packaging, imported fruit meets Vietnam's import criteria. This advantage allows them to compete effectively with Vietnamese products. These imports arrive in the market with high standard packaging and labels, sorted by size and grade, ensuring consistent quality.
Furthermore, the import tax on fruit and vegetables has nearly dropped to 0%, significantly lowering food prices. The Vietnam Fruit and Vegetable Association noted that imports from low-cost countries like India, New Zealand, and South Korea have increased by 4 to 62% compared to last year. This compels farmers and businesses to adopt new production methods, focusing on quality, productivity, off-season production, cost reduction, and increased competitiveness.
The Industrial Production Index, or IIP, increased in 55 provinces and cities in the first 5 months of 2024, but decreased in 8 localities nationwide compared to the same period last year. Relatively high indexes growth were reported in Phú Thọ, 31%, and Bắc Giang, 25%. Some localities with low growth or a decrease in IIP include Hà Tĩnh, 9%, and Quảng Ngãi, just above 8%. Industrial production in May continued to maintain a growth trend, increasing by 3.9% compared to the previous month and 8.9% compared to the same period last year. The General Statistics Office notes that some localities achieve high IIP growth thanks to significant increases in the processing and manufacturing industries and the generation and distribution of electricity. Vietnam's e-commerce is developing rapidly with a 20 to 25% growth rate, placing it among the world's top 5 countries in e-commerce growth. This information was provided by the Minister of Industry and Trade, Nguyễn Hồng Diên, during the National Assembly Q&A session on Tuesday afternoon. The country's e-commerce sector is now worth over $20 billion per year, accounting for 8% of the total consumer goods revenue nationwide. Recently, the ministry has increased inspections and promptly addressed violations in e-commerce, especially illegal sales on digital platforms. Relevant units will intensify efforts to better protect consumer rights. Now, before we move on to other important updates, let's take a look at the foreign exchange rate of today, June 5th. Coming up next on VTV News. Quảng Nam province strives to restore biodiversity. And VietJet launches Hanoi-Melbourne first flight route. Now moving on to other news. In the first 5 months of the year, the demand for electricity consumption has dramatically increased, up to nearly 12% compared to the same period last year. According to forecasts, the demand for electricity for the whole year will reach more than 313 billion kilowatt. Although the Ministry of Industry and Trade has planned solutions to prepare for high demand in the peak months of the dry season in 2024, it still needs stronger participation from the entire political system to promote electricity saving.
According to the original design of this cement factory, to produce 1 ton of clinker, it will need to consume 58 kilowatt-hour of electricity. 1 ton of cement will use 36 kilowatt-hour of electricity. However, by using excess heat from the cement production line to generate electricity, the enterprise can save nearly 40% on electricity cost each year.
We recover excess heat to generate electricity for 4 production lines, with a total of 34 megawatts for electricity generation. In 2023, we generated 227 million kilowatt hours. In terms of money, we recovered $14.5 million in electricity from excess heat generation.
By proactively participating in the electricity load adjustment program, shifting production from daily peak hours to off-peak hours, the enterprise has a more optimal production regulation plan.
Thanks to the proactive coordination of the local electricity industry, our factory operates safely and stably. We realize that this is a program that requires the cooperation of businesses and foreign investors to help reduce the overload of the power grid.
The Prime Minister's Directive Number 20 clearly states the implementation solutions and goals for each customer group. For manufacturing enterprises with electricity consumption of 1 million kilowatt-hours/year or more, they must set a mandatory target of saving 2% of electricity on each product produced, or 2% of total electricity consumption for the whole year.
Therefore, with the goal of saving about 6 billion kilowatt-hour of electricity each year, It will not only help electricity users save money, but also help the electricity industry manage and operate the power grid safely and effectively.
Interconnected crisis of climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollution demand urgent action to ensure a healthy future for all. As a country heavily affected by climate change, Vietnam has shown its responsibility in recent years by implementing strong commitments to environmental protection. Localities have launched efforts to protect forests, conserve the biodiversity, and restore biodiversity. Join us in the following story about Quảng Nam Province for more details.
Although in planning, this was developed into a protected forest, the forest was turned into a farming area for local ethnic groups. Quảng Nam's forest management boards have negotiated and supported farm owners in planting native trees and restoring forest coverage. At Thanh River National Park, thousands of US dollars are invested annually to increase forest coverage. Farm owners are recruited for a specialized forest guard force. Farm owners will benefit from this planted forest area in the future.
The flora has been recovered. 500 hectares of forest have been planted with tropical forest trees.
Like many localities nationwide, destroying primary forests to plant commercial forests and trapping wild animals was common in Quảng Nam Province. In the past 5 years, however, since the formation of a forest protection force and specialized forest protection groups, deforestation in Quảng Nam Province has declined significantly. Wildlife has been given back their habitats and the forest ecosystem has been restored.
Local communities have a responsibility to coordinate with functional forces to protect the forest. Local authorities have provided us with information to help us understand more about the benefits of forest protection.
Protecting forests is protecting the environment and limiting landslides. Many communities have participated in forest protection, so the province still retains many areas of primary forest.
The province currently has more than 500,000 hectares of primary forest. Local authorities have been implementing projects to relocate residential areas from primary forestry. Along with restoring deforested areas, Quảng Nam Province provides rice, so locals do not grow upland rice in hydroelectric reservoir basins. These are considered sustainable solutions for people in buffer zones of conservation areas and national parks to participate in protected forests, protecting the ecological environment and mitigating natural disasters.
As a leading tourist destination, Cô Tô Island is facing an increasing amount of waste from the ocean, daily life, and tourism activities. In order to develop tourism as a key economic sector, the local authorities and citizens are making efforts to treat waste and find solutions to reduce environmental pollution on the island.
Plastic bottles, nylon bags, and algae flood Hong Van Beach after each monsoon. Consisting of more than 70 islands and small cays, Cô Tô Island regularly suffers from this type of waste.
We clean up the beach every week by picking up plastic waste that has washed up here. We gather every day so everyone here can clean up together.
In addition to ocean waste, Cô Tô Island has to process 12 to 15 tons of household waste every day. During the peak tourist season, the amount of waste reaches 25 to 30 tons per day. Since July 2020, Cô Tô Island has put this negative pressure incinerator system into operation.
The island has a lot of seafood, which is very difficult to handle. We have a solution to classify and collect products that can be recycled or reused, and products that can be used as souvenirs including snail shells and seashells.
The most challenging problem is that fuel and labor costs on the island are 1.5 to 2 times higher than on the mainland, and waste treatment equipment is quickly damaged due to the effects of salt from the sea. Therefore, waste classification sorts is an important step to reduce treatment costs and landfill area.
The Plastic Waste-Free Cô Tô Island project has raised awareness among residents and tourists when coming to Cô Tô. They will not to use hard-to-decompose plastic bags and disposable plastic items on the island. In the future, we will focus on sorting waste at the source.
In 2023, some rare animals such as sea turtles, dolphins, and whales returned to Goto Island after many years of absence. The marine environment is regenerated, contributing to the development of the island towards green economy.
Flight VTV093, the first VietJet flight from Hanoi to Melbourne, landed on Tuesday, marking the airline's sixth route connecting up Vietnam and Australia. The round-trip Melbourne-Hanoi route is expected to contribute to attracting investment, developing the economy, and driving demand for job opportunities in Victoria. It will also help boost tourism growth in both countries and restore traveling activities to pre-pandemic levels by 2025. Now, on the new route, 2 round-trip flights are operated weekly on Tuesday and Saturdays using the wide-body Airbus A330 aircraft. The Michelin Guides, a series of guidebooks that have been published by the French tire company Michelin since the 1900s, have offered some suggestions for tourists looking to explore Vietnam's capital in 48 hours. Discovering the best places to eat, stay, exploring the picturesque French Quarter, as well as immersing oneself in world-class cuisine, charming parks, and captivating historical sites are among the most interesting things visitors can do in Hanoi, according to the guide. The first day offers travelers a prime opportunity to explore the area's various traditions and history. Opting for a classic egg coffee and a hot bowl of pho are among the list of things to do to start the day in Hanoi. The article wrote that the vibrant Vietnamese capital is a dynamic blend of history, culture, and modern flair. The bustling streets teem with motorbikes and street vendors, while tranquil lakes and ancient temples offer peaceful escapes. Coming up next in our world news. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's coalition wins majority in parliament after vote. And Slovenia becomes latest European country to recognize a Palestinian state. Now moving on to our world news, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has declared an election victory as his coalition won more than half of the parliamentary seats, with votes still being counted. That sets Modi on course to win a third consecutive term, the country's first prime minister to do so in more than 60 years. This comes after a 6-week-long election where nearly 1 billion people were eligible to vote. Modi's National Democratic Alliance, led by the Indian People's Party, has set a bullish target to win 400 out of 543 parliamentary seats. After the vote counting results were announced, Prime Minister Modi gave a victory speech. In it, he called this a victory for the world's largest democracy. He affirmed that the government would work with all its might to make India the third largest economy in the world and strive to stamp out corruption. Slovenia recognized a Palestinian state on Tuesday after its parliament voted overwhelmingly in favor of the move, following in the recent footsteps of 3 other European countries. Slovenia's government endorsed a motion last week to recognize a Palestinian state and sent the proposal to the parliament for final approval, which was needed for the decision to take effect. Slovenia's decision came days after Spain, Norway, and Ireland recognized a Palestinian state, a move that Israel condemned. Israel also immediately recalled the ambassadors in the 3 countries for urgent consultations. More than 140 countries recognize a Palestinian state, more than 2/3 of the United Nations. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin met with Cambodian officials on Tuesday to discuss a possible resumption of joint military exercises. The U.S. Defense Secretary met with Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Manet and Defense Minister Phie. The official discussed ways to strengthen defense ties to support regional peace and security, including by resuming military training exchanges, demining training, and Cambodian participation in U.S. military education programs. Cambodian leaders assess that the U.S. Defense Secretary's visit would bring new opportunities and expand defense cooperation between the two countries, hoping that the two sides will resolve their differences to build more trust. With natural beauty and extremely rich flora and fauna, national parks in the United States welcome tens of thousands of millions of tourists each year. However, climate change is threatening these parks' key iconic features. In the future, the names of these national parks will only be nostalgic. More in the following.
Hidden deep in Montana's Glacier National Park, the once majestic Grinnell Glacier has shrunk significantly. After a tiring trip, visitors admire the beautiful scenery of a peaceful blue lake between towering mountain peaks. Although beautiful, the very presence of this lake is a testament to the devastation of rapid global warming. Just a few decades ago, it was completely frozen. But now, the glacier itself has shrunk into a small depression at the edge of the lake, making visitors surprised at what remains. They witness the ice melting before their eyes.
It makes me really scared. Like, I want to come with my family here at some point, and I don't want a family yet. So I want to know that this stuff is here for years to come, and I want to come when I'm older.
Those glaciers are like, the water towers for, the northern Rockies here, and they do provide a source of late summer cold water that's important for the fish. And as those disappear, the warming will accelerate.
Standing by its name, Great Sand Dunes National Park and Preserve in Indiana used to have many sand dunes. They were large and dozens of meters tall. But that was just an image from years ago, and now there are only beaches and collapsing dunes. Around 80,000 tons of sand excavated from a quarry are used to replenish the beach at the foot of the park's most famous dune, Mount Baldy.
We're not trying to make a bigger beach, and we're not trying to keep a smaller beach. We're just trying to maintain the parkland, the national parkland, and the Mount Baldy.
Back at Glacier National Park in Montana, visitors can see pictures that capture the park's changes over time. It serves as a reminder, raising people's awareness of the impacts of climate change.
Now let's move on to the weather forecast. And that's all the news we have for this hour. To rewatch our program, you can download our mobile app at VTVgo or check out our YouTube channel, VTV4Go. Thank you for watching and see you next time.